Ladies, let's cut to the chase. Love isn't what you think at Island. It's not a fairy tale, not a Hollywood montage, not a spark that just happens and carries you to some happily ever after finish line. No, love is a mission. It's a relentless, audacious, world changing pursuit that demands every ounce of your courage, your intellect, and your will to care deeply, deliberately, fiercely. I'm not here to sell you a dream. I'm here to wake you up to a reality that's bigger, messier, and infinitely more rewarding than anything you've been told about love. Buckle up, because I'm going to take you on a journey through what love really means through the lens of someone who spent a lifetime building things, companies, rockets, dreams, and learning that love, like any great endeavor, is about showing up, screwing up, and caring enough to keep going. When I say love, I'm not talking about the fleeting rush of butterflies or the dopamine hit of a first kiss. Those are just the opening notes, the initial thrust that gets the rocket off the ground. Real love is what happens when you're 100,000 feet up, navigating through turbulence, recalibrating systems, and making split-second decisions to keep the mission on course. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about care. Care so intense it feels like you're building a Tesla factory in your heart, rewiring every circuit to make it stronger, better, more resilient. And ladies, I'm talking to you because you already know what it's like to care, to pour yourself into relationships, into families, into dreams, often without the world giving you the credit you deserve. But here's the truth. Your capacity to care is your superpower. It's the fuel that can launch you and someone else into a life that's not just good, but extraordinary. Let me take you back to a moment in my life. Picture me, a kid from Pretoria, South Africa, awkward, nerdy, head full of sci-fi books and big ideas about colonizing Mars. Love? I thought it was a puzzle, a problem to solve, like cracking the code for reusable rockets. I figured if I could just find the right person, the right formula, it'd all fall into place. Attraction plus chemistry equals forever, right? Wrong, dead wrong. I crashed and burned more times than a prototype in early SpaceX tests. Every heartbreak, every misstep, every night spent wondering why it didn't work. It was like a failed launch. Painful, costly, but packed with data. And data, ladies, is how you learn. It's how you refine the mission. Those failures weren't the end. They were the beginning of understanding that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone worth caring for, someone who sees your chaos, your quirks, your wild ambitions, and doesn't run away but leans in, ready to build something with you. I remember one relationship early on where I thought I had it all figured out. She was brilliant, beautiful, the kind of person who could light up a room. I thought, this is it, this is the one. But it fell apart not because of a lack of passion, but because I didn't yet understand care. I was so focused on my own goals, building companies, chasing dreams, that I forgot love isn't just about shared moments of brilliance. It's about the quiet, gritty work of showing up when things get tough. When the deadlines pile up, when the world feels like it's collapsing, when you're both too tired to even talk, that's where care lives. Not in grand gestures, but in the daily choice to say, I'm here. I see you. I'm not going anywhere. That failure taught me something no book or movie ever could. Love is not a spark. It's a system, a process, a commitment to keep iterating, keep improving, keep caring, no matter how many times you crash. Now, let's get real. You've all been there. You've poured your heart into someone, planned a future, maybe even pictured the house, the kids, the dog, and then it falls apart. Maybe it was a betrayal. Maybe it was just life pulling you in different directions. It hurts like hell, I know. I've felt that ache, that moment where you wonder if you're broken, if you're not enough. But here's what I've learned, and I want you to hear this. Every heartbreak is a signal, not a stop sign. It's the universe telling you to recalibrate, to dig deeper, to learn what care really means. Because care isn't just flowers on Valentine's Day or sweet words in a text. Care is seeing someone's flaws, hell, seeing your own flaws and choosing to stay, to work, to build. It's the kind of effort that turns a good idea into a Tesla, a Neuralink, a Starship. It's the kind of effort that turns a relationship into a legacy. Ladies, you know this better than anyone. You're the ones who've been taught to care, to nurture, to hold things together when the world tries to pull them apart. You've balanced careers, families, dreams, all while society expects you to smile and make it look easy. But I'm not here to tell you it's easy. I'm here to tell you it's worth it. Because when you care, really care, you're not just loving someone else. You're building yourself. You're becoming someone stronger, wiser, more capable of handling the storms life throws at you. Care is the rocket fuel of love, and it's also the rocket fuel of personal growth. Every time you choose to care, you're choosing to evolve, to push past your limits, to become a version of yourself you didn't even know was possible. Let me paint a picture. Imagine love as a mission to Mars. You don't just strap into a rocket and hope for the best. You plan, you test, you fail, you iterate, you account for every variable: gravity, fuel, trajectory. Love is no different. It's not about luck or fate. It's about strategy, effort, and relentless determination. When I started SpaceX, people said I was crazy. You can't build reusable rockets, they said. You can't compete with NASA, but I didn't listen. I cared too much about the mission, about getting humanity to Mars, to let doubt stop me. Love is the same. You can't let fear, failure, or naysayers stop you from building something extraordinary with someone. You have to care enough to keep going, to keep tweaking the design, to keep pushing through the setbacks. I've had moments where I doubted myself, not just in love, but in life. Running companies like Tesla and SpaceX, you face a lot of long nights, a lot of impossible odds. There were times I thought, maybe I'm not cut out for this, maybe I'm aiming too high. But then I'd think about the mission, why I started, why it mattered. Love is no different. There will be moments when you doubt, when you wonder if you're enough, if it's worth it, but that's when you double down on care. You don't walk away from a rocket because it didn't launch perfectly the first time. You analyze, you adjust, you try again. And when you find someone who cares as much as you do, someone who's willing to meet you in the middle of the chaos and say, let's figure this out together, that's when you know you're onto something real. Here's where it gets interesting. Care isn't just about the other person, it's about you. It's about the discipline to know yourself, to face your own flaws, to grow through the messiness of life. When I was younger, I thought love was about finding someone who fit my blueprint, someone who checked all the boxes, who aligned perfectly with my vision. But that's not how it works. Love isn't a checklist. It's a collaboration. It's two people, both imperfect, both carrying their own baggage, deciding to build something together. And that starts with caring about yourself enough to show up as your real self, not the polished version you think someone wants, but the raw, messy, ambitious, complicated you. Ladies, I know you feel the pressure to be everything: perfect partner, perfect professional, perfect friend, but real care starts with giving yourself permission to be human, to have bad days, to make mistakes, to not have all the answers. When you care about yourself, you set the standard for how others should care for you. You stop settling for half-hearted love, for people who don't see your worth. You start demanding a partner who's as invested in the mission as you are, someone who's ready to roll up their sleeves and build something epic with you. That's what I learned the hard way. Love isn't about finding someone to complete you, it's about finding someone who inspires you to complete yourself. Let's talk about what care looks like in practice. It's not always romantic. Sometimes it's arguing over who's going to do the dishes and still choosing to laugh about it. Sometimes it's staying up late to help them finish a project, even when you've got your own deadlines. Sometimes it's just listening, really listening when they're falling apart and not trying to fix it, but just being there. Care is the small stuff, the unglamorous stuff, the stuff that doesn't make it into movies, but makes a relationship last 10 years, 20 years, a lifetime. It's the same kind of care I put into my companies, obsessing over the details, refusing to give up, always looking for a better way. And when you bring that level of care to love, you're not just building a relationship, you're building a legacy, something that outlives the fleeting sparks and stands the test of time. I want you to think about the women you admire, the ones who built something extraordinary, whether it's a career, a family, or a life full of purpose. What do they have in common? They care. They care fiercely, unapologetically, relentlessly. They don't shy away from the hard work of love, the hard work of life. They don't wait for permission or perfection. They show up, they take risks, they keep going. That's what I'm asking you to do. Care enough to keep going even when it's hard. Care enough to demand more from yourself and from the people you let into your life. Care enough to believe that love, real love, is worth the effort. This isn't about chasing a fantasy. It's about building something real, something that can withstand the storms, the setbacks, the moments when you feel like giving up. Because here's the thing: love, like any great mission, isn't about avoiding failure, it's about learning from it. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment you thought you couldn't go on, it's all data, it's all part of the mission. And when you care enough to keep analyzing, keep iterating, keep pushing forward, you'll find that the failures weren't failures at all. They were the steps that led you to something greater, someone who sees you, who cares for you, who's ready to join you in building a life that's not just good, but out of this world, extraordinary. So, ladies, here's my challenge to you: care. Care deeply, care boldly, care like you're launching a rocket to Mars. Don't settle for less than a love that pushes you to be your best, that challenges you to grow, that feels like a mission worth fighting for. Because when you care like that, you're not just loving someone else, you're rewriting your own story, building your own legacy, and becoming the kind of woman who doesn't just find love, she defines it. All right, ladies, we've ignited the engines, we've cleared the launch pad, and now we're in orbit, staring at the vast expanse of what love can be. But don't get comfortable. This isn't a joyride. This is a mission, and the real work starts when you're out here in the void, navigating uncharted territory. Love through care isn't just about showing up, it's about staying in the game, adapting to the unexpected, and building something that doesn't just survive but thrives under pressure. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. Love is hard, messy, and sometimes feels like you're trying to land a Falcon 9 booster on a drone ship in a storm. But that's exactly why it's worth it, because when you care enough to push through, you create something no one else can. Let's dive into the next phase of this mission: how care transforms chaos into a force that propels you, your partner, and your entire life forward. Think about the chaos of life. You know it well. One day you're crushing it, nailing a presentation, planning a future, feeling on top of the world. The next you're hit with a curveball, a job loss, a fight with someone you love, or just that quiet doubt that creeps in at 2 a.m., whispering that you're not enough. That's chaos, and it's not the enemy, it's the raw material. When I started SpaceX, the odds were stacked against us. No private company had ever launched a rocket into orbit. We had three failed launches, burning through millions, with the world watching and waiting for us to crash and burn. But chaos isn't a dead end, it's a challenge. It's the crucible where innovation is born. And love is no different. It's not about avoiding the chaos of life or pretending you can keep everything neat and tidy. It's about caring enough to take that chaos and shape it into something extraordinary together. Let's get personal. I've had moments in my relationships where everything felt like it was falling apart: misunderstandings, mismatched expectations, the kind of tension that makes you wonder if you're even on the same planet. I remember one night, years ago, sitting across from someone I cared about deeply, both of us exhausted, words failing us, the air thick with frustration. I thought, this is it, this is where it ends. But then something shifted. Instead of walking away, we chose to care. We didn't try to fix everything in one grand gesture. We just started talking, really talking, not about who was right or wrong, but about what we wanted, what scared us, what we were willing to fight for. That moment wasn't romantic, it wasn't a movie scene. It was raw, real, and it taught me that care is what turns a breaking point into a turning point. It's the decision to say, this is messy, but I'm not giving up on us. Ladies, you've been there. You've felt the weight of trying to hold a relationship together when life throws everything at you. Maybe it's the stress of balancing a career with being there for someone you love. Maybe it's the fear of being vulnerable, of showing the parts of yourself you've kept hidden because you're scared they won't be accepted. But here's the truth: care is your power. It's the ability to look at the chaos, yours, theirs, the world's, and say, I'm going to build something out of this. It's not about erasing the mess, it's about embracing it, learning its patterns, and finding a way to make it work. Like designing a neural network for AI, you don't throw out the errors, you learn from them, you iterate, you optimize. That's what care does in love. It takes the noise and turns it into harmony. Now, let's talk about what this looks like for you. As women, you're often expected to be the glue, the one who keeps everything together: family, friendships, relationships, all while chasing your own dreams. It's exhausting. I get it. I've seen it in the women in my life, the ones who juggle impossible schedules, who pour their hearts into everything they do, who somehow make it look effortless even when it's anything but. But here's what I want you to know: your ability to care is not a burden, it's a force. It's the same force that drives me to keep pushing Tesla toward sustainable energy or SpaceX toward multiplanetary life. It's the refusal to settle for good enough, the insistence on building something that lasts, something that matters. In love, that means caring enough to see the person in front of you not as a project to fix, but as a partner to grow with. Care and love is about seeing the whole person, their dreams, their fears, their quirks, their contradictions, and choosing to stand by them. It's about recognizing that they're not perfect, and neither are you, but together you can be something greater than the sum of your parts. I've learned this through trial and error. When I was younger, I thought love was about finding someone who matched my blueprint, someone who could keep up with my pace, but that's not how it works. Love isn't about finding a carbon copy of yourself. It's about finding someone whose chaos complements yours, someone who brings something to the table you didn't even know you needed. And that only happens when you care enough to listen, to understand, to meet them where they are. Let me share another story. Early in my career, I was so focused on building my companies that I didn't always see the people around me. I was moving at a million miles an hour, chasing goals that seemed bigger than anything else. But there was someone in my life who saw through that. She didn't try to slow me down or change me. Instead, she cared enough to challenge me, not to compete, but to grow. She'd ask questions that stopped me in my tracks. Why does this matter to you? What are you really afraid of? Those questions weren't comfortable, but they were necessary. They forced me to look at myself, to confront the parts of me I'd been avoiding. That's what care does. It doesn't let you coast. It pushes you to be better, not just for them, but for yourself. Ladies, you have that power. You have the ability to see someone's potential, to call it out, to hold them to it, but you also have to demand that in return. Care is a two-way street. It's not about you giving everything while the other person takes. It's about both of you showing up, both of you investing, both of you caring enough to build something that can withstand the chaos of life. I've seen too many women pour their hearts into relationships where the other person doesn't match their effort. Don't do that. Don't settle for someone who doesn't care as fiercely as you do. You deserve a partner who's all in, who's ready to navigate the storms with you, who sees your chaos and says, let's make this work. And this brings me to a key point. Care is not passive. It's active, deliberate, relentless. It's like running a company. You don't just set a goal and hope it happens. You strategize, you execute, you adapt. In love, that means showing up every day, even when it's hard. It means having the tough conversations, not avoiding them. It means forgiving, not because you have to, but because you believe in what you're building together. When I think about the moments that have defined my relationships, it's not the grand gestures or the perfect dates. It's the times when we chose to care, when we stayed up late talking through a problem, when we laughed through the stress, when we looked at each other and said, we're not perfect, but we're in this. That's what makes love resilient. It's not about avoiding conflict or pretending everything's always smooth. It's about caring enough to work through the rough patches. When SpaceX had its first successful launch after 3 failures, it wasn't because we got lucky. It was because we cared enough to analyze every mistake, to tweak every design, to keep going when everyone else thought we'd fail. Love is the same. Every fight, every misunderstanding, every moment of doubt, it's an opportunity to learn, to grow, to strengthen the bond. But that only happens if you care enough to keep at it. Ladies, I know you're strong. I know you've carried more than your share of the load in relationships, in life, in everything. But strength isn't just about enduring, it's about creating. Care is your tool for creation. It's how you turn a fleeting connection into a lifelong partnership. It's how you take two imperfect people and build something that feels like destiny. And it starts with you. Care about yourself first. Know your worth. Know what you bring to the table, your passion, your resilience, your ability to see the big picture. Then find someone who matches that energy, someone who's ready to build with you, not just coast on your efforts. This isn't about chasing a fairy tale, it's about building a reality that's better than any story. When you care, really care, you're not just loving someone else. You're investing in a future, in a legacy, in a life that's bigger than either of you. You're creating something that can change the world, one relationship at a time. So don't hold back. Care with everything you've got. Care like you're building the next Tesla, the next Starship, the next big thing. Because when you do, you're not just finding love, you're defining it, and you're defining yourself in the process. Ladies, we're deep in the mission now, cruising through the vastness of space, where every decision counts and the stakes couldn't be higher. You've got the spark, you've embraced the chaos, and now it's time to talk about the fuel that keeps this rocket flying: trust. Trust isn't just a nice to have in love, it's the oxygen in the tank, the navigation system that keeps you on course when the stars seem to blur. Without it, you're drifting, vulnerable to every asteroid, every storm, but with it, you and your partner can go places no one's ever been. I'm not here to preach some soft, feel good version of trust. I'm talking about the kind of trust you build when you're launching a rocket to Mars, hard earned, tested under pressure, and strong enough to hold up when everything else shakes. Let's dive into how trust, rooted in care, transforms love into a force that doesn't just survive, but conquers the impossible. Trust in love is like the structural integrity of a starship. You can have the most powerful engines, the sleekest design, but if the framework isn't solid, you're not making it to orbit. I've learned this the hard way, not just in building companies, but in building relationships. Early on, I thought trust was automatic, something that just happened when you liked someone enough. I'd dive into relationships with the same reckless optimism I brought to my first startups, thinking passion and shared goals were enough. But passion fades and goals shift. What keeps you grounded literally and figuratively is trust. Not the blind kind where you ignore red flags, but the kind you forge through action, through showing up, through proving you're worth betting on. Picture this. I'm in the middle of a grueling year at Tesla, production hell, 80-hour weeks, the kind of pressure that makes you question everything. I was in a relationship then, and it wasn't easy. The hours I was putting in left little time for anything else, and I could feel the distance growing, not physical, but emotional. One night, after a brutal day, I came home to find her waiting, not with complaints or demands, but with a simple question: how can I help you carry this? That moment hit me like a successful booster landing. She didn't need to understand every detail of my world. She just needed to trust that I was all in, and I needed to trust that she was too. That's when I realized trust isn't about knowing every answer. It's about believing the other person's got your back, even when the mission feels impossible. Ladies, you know the struggle. You've been the one holding space for someone else's dreams, their stress, their chaos, often while managing your own. You've stayed up late, listening, planning, caring, even when you're running on empty. But trust isn't just about what you give, it's about what you demand in return. You deserve someone who trusts your strength, your vision, your heart, someone who doesn't flinch when you show your ambition or your vulnerability. Trust is mutual, and it starts with caring enough to be honest about who you are, what you want, and what you're afraid of. That kind of honesty is scary as hell. It's like sending a prototype into space, knowing it might not come back in one piece, but it's the only way to build something real. Let's talk about how trust gets built. It's not a one and done deal like signing a contract or flipping a switch. It's a process, a series of choices, like iterating on a Neuralink chip until it's ready for the real world. Every time you keep a promise, no matter how small, calling when you say you will, showing up when you're needed, you're laying a brick in the foundation. Every time you choose to listen instead of judge, to forgive instead of hold a grudge, you're reinforcing the structure. I've had moments where I screwed this up. I'd get caught up in my own head, my own goals, and forget to show up for the small stuff. But those failures taught me something critical. Trust isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the quiet ones, the ones no one sees, the ones where you choose to care even when it's inconvenient. Here's where it gets real for you, ladies. Society often puts you in the role of the caretaker, the one who's supposed to smooth things over, make everyone feel okay. But trust isn't about you always being the one to fix things. It's about finding someone who's willing to meet you halfway, who cares enough to build that trust with you. I've seen women pour everything into relationships only to end up with someone who takes it for granted. That's not love, that's a bad deal. You wouldn't invest millions in a startup that doesn't deliver, so why invest your heart in someone who doesn't show up? Trust is a two-way street, and it's your right to demand it. Care enough about yourself to say, I deserve someone who's as committed to this mission as I am. Now, let's flip the script and talk about what trust does for you. When you trust someone and they trust you, it's like unlocking a new level of freedom. You're not second guessing every move, worrying about betrayal, or guarding your heart like it's a classified project. You're free to be you, the ambitious you, the messy you, the you who dreams of changing the world or just getting through the day. That freedom is what lets you take risks, not just in love, but in life. When I knew I had someone who trusted me, who believed in me, even when I doubted myself, it was like having a safety net that let me swing for the stars. I could push harder at SpaceX, take bolder risks at Tesla, because I knew there was someone in my corner ready to catch me if I fell. That's what I want for you. Trust isn't just about feeling safe, it's about feeling unstoppable. When you trust your partner and they trust you, you're not just two people sharing a life, you're a team, a unit, a force capable of tackling anything. Think about the women who've inspired you, the ones who've built empires, raised families, or just lived fiercely on their own terms. They didn't do it alone. They had people, partners, friends, mentors who trusted them, who saw their potential and said, go for it. That's what trust does in love. It's not a leash, it's a launch pad. It's the thing that lets you chase your dreams without fear, knowing someone's got your back. But here's the hard truth. Trust takes work. It's not enough to say you trust someone, you have to prove it day after day. And you have to be willing to rebuild it when it cracks. Because it will crack. Life throws curveballs, misunderstandings, mistakes, moments where you let each other down. I've had those moments where I said the wrong thing or didn't show up the way I should have. And I've been on the other side too, feeling let down, questioning whether the trust was still there. But care is what rebuilds it. Care is what says, I messed up, but I'm here and I'm going to make this right. It's the willingness to have the hard conversations, to own your mistakes, to keep showing up even when it's easier to walk away. Ladies, you're no strangers to hard work. You fought for your place in the world, whether it's in a boardroom, a classroom, or your own home. You know what it means to keep going when things get tough. Apply that to love, care enough to build trust, to demand it, to nurture it. Because when you have trust, you have something stronger than passion, deeper than attraction. You have a foundation that can withstand anything distance, doubt, even the chaos of life itself. Trust is what lets you look at someone and say, we're in this together, and no matter what comes, we're going to make it. This mission of love isn't about avoiding the hard stuff, it's about embracing it. It's about caring so much that you're willing to fight for trust, to build it brick by brick, to protect it like it's the most valuable thing you've got. Because at Island, trust is what turns a relationship into a partnership, a connection into a legacy. So don't settle for less. Care enough to demand trust, to give it, to build it. Care enough to believe that you deserve a love that's as strong as you are, a love that's ready to go to the stars with you. Because when you've got trust, you've got everything you need to make the impossible possible. Ladies, we're now in the deep space of this mission, where the stars are distant, the path is unclear, and the only thing keeping you grounded is the vision you share with someone else. We've talked about care as the fuel, chaos is the raw material, trust is the structure, but none of it means anything without a shared vision. Love isn't just about surviving together. It's about building something bigger than yourselves, something that stretches beyond the horizon, like a colony on Mars or a world powered by sustainable energy. I'm talking to you, women who dream big, who juggle a million responsibilities, and still dare to imagine a life that's extraordinary. This is where love becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a purpose, a direction, a reason to keep pushing forward. Let's dive into how a shared vision, rooted in care, transforms love into a force that doesn't just change your life but reshapes the world around you. Vision in love is like the star chart for a spaceship. Without it, you're just floating, hoping to stumble into something good. With it, you've got a destination, a reason for every maneuver, every sacrifice. When I started SpaceX, the vision wasn't just to build rockets, it was to make humanity a multiplanetary species. That's what kept me going through bankruptcies, failures, and nights when I thought we'd never make it. Love needs that same kind of North Star. It's not enough to just like someone or enjoy their company. You need to know where you're going together. Are you building a family, chasing adventure, creating a legacy that outlives you? That shared vision is what turns a relationship into a partnership, a connection into a mission. Let me take you behind the curtain of my own life. I've always been a guy with big plans, too big, some would say. I'd lie awake at night sketching out ideas for electric cars, brain-computer interfaces, tunnels under cities. But there was a time when I realized those plans meant nothing if I was alone in them. I met someone who didn't just nod along when I talked about colonizing Mars. She challenged me to think bigger, to connect my dreams to something human, something grounded. She had her own vision, her own fire, and instead of clashing, our dreams started to align. We weren't just two people sharing a life, we were two people building something together, something that felt like it could change the game. That's when I understood love isn't about merging into one person. It's about two people pointing their rockets in the same direction and saying, let's make this happen. Ladies, you know what it's like to carry a vision. Maybe it's a career you're fighting for, a family you're nurturing, or a cause you're pouring your heart into. You've got that fire inside you, that drive to make something real. But too often you're told to dim it, to make it smaller, to fit into someone else's idea of what you should be. I'm here to tell you, don't don't shrink your vision to fit a relationship. Instead, find someone whose vision amplifies yours, someone who sees your dreams and says, hell yes, let's do this. That's what a shared vision does. It takes your individual ambitions and multiplies them, like a fusion reactor generating more energy than you ever thought possible. Here's how it works in practice. A shared vision isn't about agreeing on every detail. You don't need to have the same hobbies or the same taste in music. It's about aligning on the big stuff, the values, the purpose, the direction. I remember a moment with someone I cared about, sitting on a couch, talking about what we wanted our lives to mean. I was obsessed with pushing humanity forward, building technologies that could outlast us. She wanted to create art that touched people's souls, to leave a mark through beauty and truth. At first, those seemed like different paths, but the more we talked, the more we realized our visions weren't at odds, they were complementary. My drive for progress needed her sense of humanity. Her art needed my stubborn optimism. That's what a shared vision does. It doesn't erase your individuality, it weaves it into something bigger. This is where care comes in. Caring and love means caring about your partner's dreams as much as your own. It means listening when they talk about what lights them up, even if it's not your thing. It means supporting them when they're chasing something that scares them, even if you don't fully understand it. I've had moments where I failed at this, where I was so caught up in my own mission that I forgot to ask about hers. But when I got it right, when I showed up for her dreams the way she showed up for mine, it was like adding rocket boosters to our relationship. We weren't just stronger together, we were unstoppable. Ladies, you deserve that. You deserve a partner who doesn't just tolerate your ambitions, but celebrates them. Someone who sees your vision, whether it's building a business, raising kids, or changing the world, and says, I'm in, let's make it happen. But here's the flip side. You have to care enough to do the same for them. A shared vision isn't one person sacrificing for the other. It's both of you investing, both of you pushing, both of you dreaming bigger because you've got each other. I've seen too many women give up their dreams to prop up someone else's, only to end up resentful, drained, empty. Don't do that. Care enough to protect your vision and demand a partner who cares enough to protect it too. Let's get practical. Building a shared vision starts with asking the big questions. What do you want your life to stand for? What's the legacy you want to leave? And then, just as importantly, what does your partner want? I've had relationships where we skipped this step, where we assumed we were on the same page because we liked each other. Big mistake. It's like launching a rocket without a flight plan. You might get off the ground, but you're not going anywhere meaningful. Take the time to talk, to dream, to argue even. Those conversations aren't easy, but they're necessary. They're the telemetry data that keeps your mission on track. Here's a moment that stuck with me. I was with someone who challenged me to think about legacy in a new way. I was always focused on the big picture, humanity, progress, the future. But she asked me, what's the point of all this if it doesn't make people's lives better today? That question stopped me cold. It wasn't a criticism, it was care. She cared enough about my vision to push me to refine it, to make it more human. That's what a shared vision does. It sharpens you, it challenges you, it makes you better. And it only works if you both care enough to keep asking those questions, to keep aligning, to keep dreaming together. This isn't just about your relationship, it's about your life. A shared vision and love spills over into everything else. When you and your partner are aligned, you're not just building a life together, you're building a force that can change things. Think about the power couples who've inspired you, the ones who've built empires, families, movements. They didn't do it by playing small. They did it by caring enough to dream big together, to support each other's visions, to turn their love into a legacy. That's what I want for you. A love that doesn't just make you happy, but makes you unstoppable. A love that doesn't just fill your heart, but fuels your purpose. But here's the catch. A shared vision takes work. It's not enough to agree on a goal and call it a day. Life changes, people change, and your vision has to evolve with you. I've had moments where I thought I had it all figured out, only to realize the world had shifted under my feet. New challenges, new priorities, new dreams. That's when care becomes critical. Caring means staying curious, staying open, staying willing to recalibrate. It means checking in with each other, not just once a year, but every day, every week, every moment you feel the drift. It's like running a company. You don't set a strategy and walk away. You monitor, you adjust, you keep the mission alive. Ladies, you're no strangers to this kind of work. You've built careers, families, lives, all while navigating a world that doesn't always make it easy. You know, how to adapt, how to keep going, how to turn dreams into reality. Bring that to your love. Care enough to build a vision with someone, a vision that's bigger than both of you. Care enough to fight for it, to refine it, to protect it. Because when you have a shared vision, you're not just in love, you're on a mission. And that's when love becomes something more than a feeling. It becomes a force, a purpose, a legacy that can change the world. Ladies, we've traveled far on this mission through the sparks of care, the chaos we shape, the trust we build, and the vision we share. Now, we're at the final frontier, the part where love stops being just a journey and becomes a legacy. This isn't about tying a neat bow on things or pretending you've reached the end. Love doesn't have an end. It's a lifelong exploration, a relentless pursuit that keeps evolving, keeps challenging you, keeps redefining who you are. I'm talking to you, women who've poured your hearts into life's battles, who've carried dreams and doubts in equal measure. This is where we talk about love as a force of transformation, not just for you, not just for your partner, but for the world you touch together. Let's dive into how care sustained over time turns love into a legacy that echoes beyond your lifetime, like a signal sent into the cosmos reaching for eternity. When I think about legacy, I think about impact. At SpaceX, we're not just launching rockets, we're building a future where humanity lives among the stars. At Tesla, it's not just about electric cars, it's about saving the planet from fossil fuels. Love is no different. It's not just about you and your partner, it's about what you create together, the mark you leave on the world. Legacy in love isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about the cumulative effect of every choice you make to care, every moment you choose to show up, every time you decide to keep going when it would be easier to quit. It's the sum of all those small, deliberate acts of care that build something bigger than yourself. Let me share a story from my own life. There was a time when I was so consumed by work, SpaceX, Tesla, the grind of keeping everything from falling apart that I lost sight of what mattered. I was with someone who mattered deeply to me, but I was failing her. Not because I didn't care, but because I wasn't showing it in the way that counted. Um, One evening after another marathon day, she looked at me and said, "You're building all these incredible things, but what are we building?" That hit me harder than any boardroom critique. It wasn't about money or success, it was about us, about what we were leaving behind. That moment forced me to rethink what legacy means in love. It's not just about the big wins, it's about the life you build, the moments you share, the way you make each other better. Ladies, you know this better than anyone. You've been the ones creating legacies every day, raising kids, building careers, holding communities together, all while carrying the weight of expectations. You're already leaving a mark, whether the world acknowledges it or not. But in love, your legacy isn't just about what you do alone, it's about what you and your partner create together. It's the family you nurture, the dreams you chase, the values you pass on. It's the way your love ripples outward, touching everyone around you. When you care deeply, when you commit to building something lasting with someone, you're not just living, you're shaping the future. This is where love becomes more than personal, it becomes universal. Think about the couples who've inspired you, the ones who've built something extraordinary together, whether it's a business, a family, or a cause. Their love wasn't just about them, it was about the impact they had. That's what care does. It takes love beyond the private moments and turns it into something that matters to the world. I've seen this in my own life. When I'm with someone who cares as much as I do, who's willing to fight for our shared dreams, it's not just our relationship that grows, it's everything we touch. Our conversations spark ideas, our support fuels ambition, our love becomes a force that changes things. Here's what this looks like in practice. Legacy in love is built in the everyday. It's the way you encourage your partner to chase their dreams, even when it's scary. It's the way you celebrate their wins, no matter how small. It's the way you hold space for their failures, knowing they're just steps towards something greater. I remember a moment with someone I loved when she was struggling with a project that meant everything to her. She was ready to give up, convinced it wasn't worth it. I could have said something generic, like, "You'll be fine." But instead, I sat with her, listened, and reminded her why she started. That moment wasn't about fixing her problem, it was about caring enough to help her see her own strength. Years later, she told me that was the moment she decided to keep going, and that project became a cornerstone of her legacy. That's what care does, it builds something that lasts. Ladies, you have this power. You've always had it. You're the ones who see potential in others, who lift people up, who make things happen behind the scenes, but you deserve a partner who does the same for you. Someone who cares enough to invest in your legacy, not just theirs. Someone who sees your dreams and says, "Let's make this bigger." Because a true legacy in love isn't about one person shining, it's about both of you creating something that outlives you. It's about building a life that inspires others, that shows the world what's possible when two people care fiercely, relentlessly, unapologetically. This isn't easy. Building a legacy takes time, patience, and a willingness to keep showing up even when life gets in the way. There are moments when it feels like too much, when the demands of work, family, or just surviving make you want to put love on the back burner. I've been there. There were times when I thought I could compartmentalize, focus on my companies, and let love sort itself out. But it doesn't work that way. Love, like any great mission, demands your attention. It demands your care. And when you give it that, when you commit to building something lasting, you create a legacy that's stronger than any setback. Let's talk about the long game. Legacy isn't about what you achieve in a year or even a decade. It's about what you leave behind after a lifetime. It's The stories people tell about you, the impact you have on your kids, your friends, your community. It's the way your love changes the people around you, not just your partner. I think about the women in my life, my mother, my partners, my friends who've left their mark, not just on me, but on everyone they meet, their care, their resilience, their vision. It's infectious. It's the kind of legacy that doesn't just live in one relationship, but spreads like a signal sent into space, touching lives you'll never even know. This is your call to action, ladies. Care enough to build a legacy. Care enough to dream big with someone, to fight for something that matters, to create something that lasts. Don't settle for a love that's just comfortable or convenient. Demand a love that challenges you, that pushes you, that makes you want to be better. Because when you care like that, you're not just loving, you're creating. You're building a life, a legacy, a force that can change the world. And that's what love through care is all about. Turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, one deliberate, courageous act at a time.